Okay, welcome to this video. We are going to do this particular problem regarding CPI for quantitative reasoning. So before I get going on this, I'm going to go to Student Success Commons website, Math, Quantitative Reasoning. CPI is covered in Chapter 3, so that would be this first box here, Chapters 2 and 3. Notes and examples. Now these first few notes talk about a lot of the chapter 2 stuff, but if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to find index numbers, CPI, and inflation. This is a really good note sheet you can print out. We are going to use it because it has a CPI table in it. Hopefully it'll load. There it is. Okay. So this talks about index numbers, what they are, what they mean. You'll see in this darker blue color, we have several examples. The problem that we're going to do involves the CPI, Consumer Price Index. Now you can read about what this is and why it's useful, but you can do that later. For us, for now, we want to use this table here. This table may not match the one that you're given for your specific homework. It should, but if it doesn't, make sure you use the table that you're given. For us, for now, for this problem, we're going to use this table. It should work just fine. But like I said, if your table is different, just make sure you stick with yours. So our question is, a car cost $18,000 in 1982. What is the price in 2011 dollars? So let's go ahead and solve this. And I'm actually going to use pretty much a very similar example here. So you'll have not only this video with an example, but in this printout, there's a very similar example here that walks you step by step how you would solve it. So that's what we are going to do. Let me get my pen and we will get started. Okay, so the 2 years that we were given were 1982 and 2011. Now we're going from 1982 to 2011. So I'm going to look for the 2011 CPI first. 2011 CPI. So I'm going to look in that table and I'm going to find the CPI for 2011. So the year, right there. So in 2011, according to this table, the CPI was 224.9. So I need that. Hello. 224.9. Now, I started in 1982. That's where I got my information originally. So I need the 1982 CPI. Let's look at the table and find that. So 1982, right over here, 96.5. Not bad. And since I'm specifically trying to change or convert a dollar amount, I'm not just trying to find the factor by which this changed. I want to actually get a dollar amount in the end. I need to take these two, divide them, and multiply by that dollar amount. In this case, the 1800. So I'm going to throw this right into my calculator, basically just as I see it. Actually, I need to grab my calculator. Hold on. Okay, here's a good calculator. So we are going to do 224.9, the top number in our fraction, the first CPI we found, divided by 96.5. And then right away I can multiply by 1,800. And I wanted to do that right away because I don't want to round midway through a problem. That often messes up calculations. And also, I can do that without worrying about order of operations because this is division and multiplication, and those fall right next to each other in the order of operations, which means I don't have to pause or do any parentheses or anything. I can just go right through. So it's a 2-for-1 special. I get to avoid rounding, and I follow the order of operations without breaking any rules. So 224.9 divided by 96.5 multiplied by 1800 is this right here. Now we are talking about dollars. So usually when it comes to money, we would round to 2 decimal places. Hopefully your problem tells you. For this one, I'm going to give it to you both ways. We're going to round to 2 decimal places, and then we're going to talk about why you might want to round to the nearest whole number. So first, let's just round this to 2 decimal places. So we have 4,195. And if you're going to round to 2 decimal places, you want to look actually at 3 numbers after the decimal point. And the 3 numbers after our decimal point are 0, 2, 5. And you need to look at 3 because it's the third one that tells you if the second one has to increase or stay the same. Now, if your third decimal number is 5 or above, then the second one will bump up. And that's what's going to happen in this case. If I want to round this to 2 decimal places or to the nearest cent, same thing, then what's going to happen is I have to actually round it to 4195.03. So this could be a perfectly fine answer if they asked you, if they said a car cost $1,800 in 1982, what was the price or what is the price in 2011 dollars? We get just over $4,000. And that makes sense. Things are definitely more expensive now than they were in the 80s. So if a car was $1,000 or almost $2,000, yeah, I could see that it would more than double. That makes sense. I mentioned I was going to show you rounding to the nearest cent, 2 decimal places, or rounding to the nearest whole number. And the reason that I'm showing you this is that context does matter when it comes to rounding. You don't always round the same way for the same kinds of things. Sometimes when it comes to money, you want to keep the cents. Sometimes maybe you don't. For instance, if you are buying a car, it's unlikely that the car dealer is going to demand 3 pennies from you. So if your question does not say, or your homework or whatever doesn't say where to round, you can use context clues like this. If we're talking about $2.15, yeah, you want that. That's a small amount of money. You want the 15 cents. But if we're talking about thousands of dollars, like for a car or for a house, lots of times we don't keep the pennies, we don't keep the cents, unless they're high enough to bump it up to another dollar. This is only 3 cents. This is not enough for me to feel comfortable rounding this up to $4,196. So if I were writing like a written response for this, I would probably explain I found the CPI numbers in the table, I divided them, I multiplied by the original cost, and then I decided to round to the nearest whole number because 3 cents didn't seem like a reasonable amount for a car dealer or for a car to cost. But that's just me personally. I've seen many students where if the question was ambiguous and it didn't say round or not to round, sometimes students will write both and they'll say, next to this one, rounded to the nearest cent. Pretend I wrote down rounded to the nearest cent. And then they might say or rounded to the nearest whole number. That way, the teacher knows that they went through the whole problem, did all the steps, and that they understood that there are 2 main different ways for rounding when it comes to money. And if the question was ambiguous, you kind of cover both bases this way. And so this is one of the most basic CPI questions that we've got. Like I said, if you go to the SSC's website and you get this document here, there's another example and it goes through pretty much the same way. This one works with standard of living. So it's another example you can go through and practice along with it. Like I said, this table should match yours, but if not, you can follow the same steps just using your table. This will just be a quick video. We'll just do this one example, but if you'd like to see more examples of the CPI, or discuss more about what it means, please just let me know. Otherwise, this will be it, and I wish you the best of luck.